This guy gets a scam call, then passes the phone to his pet alpaca. And guess what? The scammer actually starts chatting with the alpaca.
Hello? 我说您近期有没有接到诈骗电话或是诈骗短信？是有吗？您是对我们单位有什么问题是不是？那是什么问题？您是我怎么知道你是什么问题？你的大便是吗？
When the scammer finds out, they must have been totally freaking out. I mean, can you imagine? Does the alpaca really have that much charm? Today, let's dive into the story of this magical creature. Alpaca, some folks call them grass mud horses. Not just a cool name, but their hairstyles are seriously on point. They often look like celebrities, and their laughter is kind of sweet, especially when they're little, like a fluffy toy, super adorable. Most of the time, alpacas live a chill life. Since they're domesticated animals friendly with humans, there are about 3 million alpacas worldwide. With 90% chilling in the Andean highlands of Peru and Chile, that's like one llama for every 16 people there. Pretty crazy numbers. In Ecuador next door, they even have alpaca racing competitions, where riders bring their alpacas to compete. From kids to grown-ups, alpacas are down for the race, charging ahead in a race that's kinda hilarious, but also thrilling. In Peru, there's this dance called Capacula. During festivals, locals wear alpaca wool masks and fancy alpaca wool clothes, busting moves on the streets. And get this, while dancing, they're not just carrying alpaca plush toys on their backs, they've got real alpacas in tow. Capacula means noble and powerful, so they're grooving and showing respect to their gods. Someone said that llamas and alpacas have nothing to do with each other. Actually, strictly speaking, the llama family can be considered the ancestors of alpacas. The llama family originally were animals in North America about 40 million years ago. Part of them crossed the Bering Strait to Eurasia, while another part migrated south to South America. Gradually, they evolved into the alpaca family. When you see alpaca spitting, you can tell it inherited this behavior from its ancestors, the llamas. Most of the time, alpacas only spit at their companions, such as when they compete for food or challenge higher-ranking alpacas, or when they vie for mating rights and so on. If an alpaca spits at a human, it's mostly because our behavior made it feel threatened or uncomfortable. The first spit is usually just saliva, but if you persist in being disrespectful, the alpaca will produce a special blend for you, including but not limited to chewed grass, stomach acid, various flavorful bile, and so forth. The odor and viscosity of this concoction endure for quite a while and are quite memorable. Here's another little secret. It turns out alpacas can act as sheepdogs. Take this alpaca, for instance. It carefully looks after the lambs for its owner, and this one, it's become a responsible leader of the flock. Apparently, using alpacas to help out on farms is a common practice among many South American farmers. The woman in the picture is holding yarn made from alpaca wool, which can be used to knit sweaters, shawls, scarves, hats, and all sorts of things. Alpaca wool is tougher, softer, and better at wicking away moisture compared to sheep wool. Of course, it's pricier too, going for around $80 per kilogram. Some even call it the fiber of the gods. In mountainous regions like Bolivia, every couple of years, mountain herdsmen gather together. Some ride motorcycles, while others bring along brightly colored fabrics. They're not preparing for some weird ritual, but rather to shear alpacas in a group effort. These alpacas, known locally as little alpacas, are different from what we're used to seeing. But to the locals, they're like hens that lay golden eggs. Alpaca wool has a diameter of 22 to 24 micrometers, whereas sheep wool ranges from 14 to 19 micrometers. The wool of little alpacas can even reach 12 micrometers, which is incredibly fine. Because they're wild, though, their wool yield is quite low. In ancient times, little alpaca wool was a symbol of royal wealth and status. If ordinary people wore it, they could face the death penalty. These traits have made it one of the most expensive textiles in the world. Top-notch little alpaca wool can fetch $400 to $600 per kilogram, earning it the nickname Gold of the Andes. In Italy, a coat entirely made of little alpaca wool can go for as much as $35,000. Such high profits have made little alpacas targets for hunters over the past 400 years. By 1960, their numbers had dwindled to just around 6,000, almost driving them to extinction. Thankfully, South American countries then signed a treaty to protect little alpacas, allowing their wool to be harvested every 2 to 3 years, while banning random hunting and killing. Before gathering wool, locals spend months monitoring the wild, little alpaca population, tracking their movements, and then using motorcycle teams to slowly corral them into long fences before shearing them. This has not only boosted local incomes, but also safeguarded little alpacas. It's truly a win-win situation. Today, there's even a little alpaca on Peru's coat of arms. A 30-centimeter black stone sculpture symbolizes the indigenous people's original beliefs about alpacas. The entire Andean cosmology has been influenced by alpacas. According to local legend, a goddess once fell in love with a mortal man here and wanted to be with him. However, her father disagreed, saying that the man could only be with her if he held a little alpaca every minute of every day. The goddess asked the man for his opinion, and he agreed. So, the lovers eventually married. But one day, the man accidentally dropped the little alpaca, and the goddess was swiftly pulled away by a force, chasing her to the edge of a great lake, but ultimately failing to catch her. Since then, the little alpaca has remained in the mortal realm. According to legend, when alpacas disappear completely, the end of the world will come. Fortunately, alpaca charm and humor have conquered the world, and many countries even have alpaca restaurants, where people can interact with alpacas while dining. In Japan, alpacas have become regular guests on variety shows, playing the role of the straight-faced comedians. In the United States, a grand alpaca festival was held for the first time in February this year, with hundreds of alpacas coming together, as if to say hello to the world without any hint of an apocalypse. So don't worry, alpacas won't go extinct, and the end of the world isn't around the corner. That's the llama story, full of a mix of cool, awkward, and funny flavors. All right, that's the end of today's story. See you next time.